Good afternoon. My name is Francis X. Clooney. I'm a professor at Harvard University in the Divinity School and a scholar of Christianity in encounter with and learning from Hindu traditions. I'm happy to contribute to this thematic issue of the journal and to talk about in the essay what I mean by home, why I think it's a valuable metaphor, and also deeply disclosive of how we actually learn how we are human beings. We have homes. We travel forth from homes, we learn from others, and then in better ways and new ways, we're still able to come home in the end. The essay is related to my 50 years of learning from Hinduism as a Catholic. And some of that is certainly portrayed and imagined in light of my many trips to India, long plane trips, particularly in the early years when flight was slow. But going and becoming at home and learning to find my way in a new culture amid different customs, different religious values and beliefs, different languages, certainly at work, and so on. And then being all the better when eventually I would come back to the United States, to my home, and to more familiar surroundings, both religious and cultural in general. The essay is really rooted in my study, and much of my study has to do with very local sense of how religion is lived out in the Indian context. I'm thinking particularly of the Tamil South Indian context, the religious and cultural and geographical landscapes, where people are very clear and very aware of how places matter to the five senses, how being in a place has to do with the times of day, the flowers, the trees, the birds, the climate, the smells, the sounds, and how one begins to find oneself as a person, but also as a religious person in one's home country, with all the significance of the things around and the things one experiences. And then it makes all the more sense in that context that one goes to holy places, which are the homes of the gods. And the gods dwell in certain places, one visits, one worships, and then one goes home again. And for me, learning and reading Tamil poetry in particular, and translating a good bit of it, has been for me all the more reinforcing of the idea that we go forth, we learn interreligiously, and then we come back home again. And so I think this is a very important idea. It's a dynamic that I think is actually fairly open-ended, but it does insist that we come from and return home. Theologically, I think it has a great deal to do with traditions like the Roman Catholic, to which I belong, and the Hindu traditions which I study, namely that we do have a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of place, and that we are aware when we leave home and when we come back home. This doesn't mean, of course, that home is like a fortress, home is a somehow closed off, that one can go forward and out and quickly return and have the assurance that nothing at home ever changes. No, that's not the idea at all. And I think that would be a great mistake. But to say that one has a home community, one has a place where one belongs, and then one learns from the other, seems to me, again, religious common sense as well as simply human experience. I would add to it, and I show this in the essay as well, that this is really important in terms of teaching, not because we impose on our students who, much younger than someone like me, often have a much more fluid sense of home or even a sense of homelessness. That is to be taken very seriously and honored and listened to. But I think it actually helps to be able to talk from one's own generation about the stories of crossing over, coming back, and then helping students to say, if you don't have a direct home, where do you come from? Where is kind of the homing instinct for you? And do you think that you'll find something of a home now or later in life? And so on. And I close, and this is a point I make toward the end of the essay, that I think this will become all the more important as a theme, because I think we're really getting out of, and indeed in a certain way tired of the idea that the world is becoming more secular, that we're becoming simply more spiritual and less religious. A lot of that happens, and much of it is for the good, I don't deny. But I do think as people begin to travel more, begin to migrate, begin to be aware of their sense of being all over the world, that there's a great reestablishment of home taking place in the world. And that if we who live today can speak of home unapologetically, explaining what we mean, and why home is important to us in our studies, in our lives, in our religious experience, then we're helping younger people to be able to figure out how to have a sense of home, how to have a sense of going forward, going out, visiting other people's homes by hospitality, and then coming back to where we started. So there's a lot going on in the essay. And again, I hope you enjoy reading it and that the things I've said right now maybe help you to find your way into what I have written. Thank you very much.